Well, it's my second stakeout. I'm honored to be back. I think Liz invited me back because she wanted me to give a boring lecture on Cold War history, so I figured I'd oblige her. But in 1946, in his famous long telegram, Wisconsin's George Kennan argued that the Soviet Union was committed fanatically to the belief that in order to preserve their own power, they had to break the authority of America. And dealing with this threat, in Kennan's view, would be the greatest task our diplomacy had ever faced. Today, I would argue we face a similar strategic challenge, and 30 years after the atrocities in Tiananmen, the Chinese Communist Party has only grown more repressive at home and aggressive abroad in their attempts to break our international authority. And I would argue the free world faces a threat anything we have seen since Kennan's time. And what we are seeing today in Xinjiang province, for example, where General Secretary Xi Jinping has over 1 million Uyghur Muslims confined in concentration camps, where they face beatings and torture with no legal recourse, what we're seeing there is not just an abomination, but a preview of things to come. The Chinese Communist Party is using Xinjiang to perfect its totalitarian surveillance state to succeed where their Soviet predecessors failed. And beyond shining a light on the atrocities of Tiananmen, beyond shining a light on the atrocities in Xinjiang, beyond imposing harsh sanctions on the individuals responsible, and beyond cutting off the flow of U.S. technology that enables these repressive systems, I think our most difficult task is simply to stay true to our own values, because the American vision of equality, liberty, and rule of law, in my opinion, provides a self-evident contrast to the dystopian future offered by the Chinese Communist Party. If we instead abandon those values and try to out-China China, going further down the road of government control, socialism, tech-enabled utopianism, we will lose. As Kennan put it in 46, the greatest danger that can befall us in coping with the problems of communism is that we should allow ourselves to become like those with whom we are coping. Finally, let me just say, I don't believe we have a China problem. I believe we have a Chinese Communist Party problem. And I actually think in many ways, at least on the Armed Services Committee, which I'm proud to be a member of, this is an area of bipartisan agreement, which is why we should all be alarmed when leading Democratic presidential candidates suggest otherwise, that the Chinese Communist Party does not present a threat to our interests and those of our allies. And today, 30 years after the massacre in Tiananmen, this should remind us that that type of thinking is naive, it is dangerous, and today should remind us that we need to stand strong and send the Chinese Communist Party where it belongs, on the ash heap of history.